What is the difference between guilt and shame? And while we're on the topic, do dogs ever feel guilt? Watch this video. I'll answer those questions and more. But before we do that, if you want to skip straight to the good stuff, I have a free guide on self-care over at selfcaretips.org/free guide. You can go there, download everything I have to say about self-care, self-love, and see lots of pictures of Benji's gorgeous face. Okay, so it's Friday, and when I opened my practice, I told myself that I was going to give myself Fridays off, right? And then I had this annoying voice in the back of my mind that was a total jerk and kept saying things like, don't be lazy, you don't need Fridays off, you need to work harder. And for the longest time, I didn't take my Fridays off. But eventually I realized that that was misplaced guilt and also annoying negative thoughts. And I needed to practice what I preach and use all those skills that I love to share with my clients to root out misplaced guilt and to replace my negative thoughts with positive ones. So I'm happy to say that it is Friday morning, actually it's Friday afternoon, and I am mostly taking the day off. I guess technically making this video is me working, but it's fun and I like you guys. So I just want to share with you before I, shut down and go out to St. Pete's for a hike. Okay, so that's why guilt is on my mind. And I was doing some reading about guilt and shame. And I came across this kind of fun article called "Do Dogs Feel Jealousy or Guilt?" And I'm going to share that with you in a minute. But first I want to talk about the humans in the room. So guilt can be a useful emotion. Basically, we feel guilt as humans because we need that emotion to tell us that we have made a mistake. We've violated a social norm or we've done something wrong in our community that could potentially harm ourselves or other people. And the guilt lets us know that we made that mistake. So that way we can go fix it, we can go apologize, and we don't like the feeling of guilt. So in the future, we avoid making that mistake so that we don't feel guilty, right? It's more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. Shame is different, right? Shame has more to do with judging ourselves as a person than judging the mistake that we made. So guilt says, hey, I made this mistake, I did a bad thing. Whereas shame says, I'm a bad person, right? And I need to be different or whatever. And so that digs deep into who we see, how we see ourselves and how we relate to other people. And it usually ends up sending us on a shame spiral filled with things like fear and anger. And it's not useful. It doesn't get us anywhere, and it hurts, right? So that's like the broad overview of what is the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt can be useful. Shame, I often say to people, there's no place in here in the therapy room for shame. We're going to root that out and embrace who we are as good and whole and fallible people. So yeah, so it's interesting that I was feeling guilty for practicing self-care when in fact that isn't a mistake. That isn't something I need to apologize for or try to fix. And that ties back to who we are as cultural beings. And it's why I call it misplaced guilt, right? So anyway, while I was doing this research, I came across this article, Do Dogs Feel Jealousy or Guilt? And I wanted to share it with you because I think it's hilarious. And we've all had those moments where we said, oh, my dog at home is going to know that I was petting another puppy and she's going to be jealous. Or, a dog gets into the trash can and then we're like, oh, he had a guilty face. Like he knew he shouldn't have done that. I've said that. I've heard other people say that. That's a pretty common thing that dog owners say. But as I was reading this article, this person says, I'm going to go straight to the bottom, but you can check out the whole thing if you want. It is quite unlikely that dogs feel guilty or jealous. What humans often perceive as guilt is simply submissive behavior as a reaction to human behavior. Huh, does it seem like they're pulling one over on us? Likewise, jealousy seems to be a response to what owners do, not how the dog feels. Thus, unless new studies will prove otherwise, this explanation for dog behavior is more likely. Our best friends are often misinterpreted. So, all right, let's take our cue from Benji and try to avoid feeling guilty, especially when we haven't actually made any kind of mistakes. So I'm going to go enjoy my Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. See you next week. Oh, don't forget to go to selfcaretips.org/free guide and get all my tips about how to take care of yourself.